Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead. Welcome back to our show. My name is Todd Ewing, and the name of our show is See the Heaven in Every Black Face. The theme of our show is transform ourselves, transform our communities, and claim our nobility. Again, see the heaven in every black face. Theme of the show is transform ourselves, transform our communities, and claim our nobility. I want to give a shout out to some past guests. I'm thinking I've been at this for a month now, Reggie. So I want to think back to the first show on April 18th with Neodoy Glover, a young man who works with youth. I want to shout out to him. I want to shout out to Life Piece, the Masterpieces. Selvin Waldron, the executive director. And then I want to shout out to Serengeti Art Gallery and Cultural Institute, Weiss and West. And in the following week, which was last week, Miss Kimberly Robinson, massage therapist and facilitator. Shout out to all of them. I want to dedicate this show to my daughter. We've got a picture of my daughter, Talia Carmel Ewing, up here. Talia Carmel Ewing is our youngest daughter. She passed away 19 years ago today. And so I want to dedicate this show to our sweetheart, and my wife is listening, and so she knows we're dedicating it to our dear daughter. So again, the show, welcome back. See the heaven in every black face. And I always want to remind folks that when I say see the heaven in every black face, I try to see heaven in every face. But this show is about what we need to do and what is being done in the black community to transform ourselves and our communities. And thus the title taken from my book, Seeing Heaven in the Face of Black Men. It's about seeing the nobility, the power and beauty in ourselves and translating that into how we relate to, how we communicate with each other, how we interact, and how we respond to each other. I want to connect the dots a little bit this week to last week's show because this show has some similar themes, some similar purposes. So last week we talked to Kimberly Robinson. She's got a show on eLife called Keeping It Moving, and from 11 to 1 on Mondays. She's a massage therapist. We talked about stress, and because I work in the area of racial healing and racial justice, we talked about how racial discrimination and the side effects, the impact, that what research tells us about that. And what research tells us is that because of racial discrimination, as one reason, we have high blood pressure in our community, we have diabetes in our community, we overindulge with cigarettes, drugs, and alcohol, and the racial discrimination, along with other kinds of stress, also causes mental disorders. And so we talked about how we store stressful and painful emotional memories in our brain. And anytime something happens that resembles those experiences, our brain brings those memories to the forefront, and we respond to the current situation based on that past memory. So we have these kind of knee-jerk responses. We respond without thinking. I was talking to our guest, who I'll introduce in a minute. We talked about this past week about how our reptilian brain kicks in and we're primed with kind of an emotional survival response. And then last week we talked about the need to respond to these kind of stresses in a wholly different way. And Kimberly talked about the importance of the need to breathe. She said sometimes when we get stressed, when we get stressed out, when there's a stressful situation, we're experiencing some kind of discrimination or stress, she said stop and breathe. And I agreed with her, and I said, that's what we have to do first. But then we have to decide after that how we're going to respond. What is the next right, noble thing to do? So I think that's the question we ask ourselves after we have the stressful experience, the experience that challenges us. We stop, we breathe, we calm ourselves, but then we say to ourselves, what is the next right, noble thing to do? And the only way we're going to ask ourselves that question is if we see ourselves as noble. If we see ourselves as noble, we're going to ask ourselves, what is the next right, noble thing to do? If we see heaven in our own faces, we're going to ask ourselves, what is the next right, heavenly, or noble thing to do? And so with that, before I go on, I want to bring our brother into this. I'm not going to give him his formal introduction just yet, but I want to bring him in because every guest I asked to talk about this concept of seeing heaven in every black face. And so, again, before the formal introduction, I will just informally introduce Halring Ra'ank.
yes, sir.
My brother, my friend, my instructor. And Halring, I just want to ask you, when you hear the concept of seeing heaven in every black face, the concept of seeing heaven in every black face, what comes to your mind when you see heaven in another black face? What is it you'd be seeing?
I'll see my reflection. Definitely images of that conjures up old Africa, you know, and when the times where I could walk down the street and I could see a pretty lady across the way and she'd look right in my eyes and I'd look right in her eyes and we just know we're just happy. The prize is life when they were experiencing it, you know, and it's not like today when, you know, you can be walking down the street and people see you, they see this big beard coming their way, they snatch their valuables a little more closely, they wind their windows up and, you know, things of that nature. No, we're talking about a time, if we're looking at heaven in the face, we're looking at the God in them, and we're looking at folks for the godliness that, you know, is within versus whatever else society may be trying to portray without. So
exactly. And you know, I don't take the name of this show lightly, See the Heaven in Every Black Face, because I think the idea is that as we start to see that in each other, then we start to treat each other that way. And so, you know, just your perception, because I don't want our guests to take this lightly, see the heaven in every black face. That sounds so sweet. That sounds so nice. But really, if we were doing that as we interacted with each other on a daily basis, if we are focused on saying, when I see my brothers and sisters on the street, I'm going to try to see heaven in their face. How do you think that might change our interactions? How do you think that might change our behavior toward each other if we actually did that?
I don't think we'd have any problems. We wouldn't see the current rate of problems that are in existence today. That would translate to togetherness amongst the community. Me looking at you as my brother, or, you know, as family, no matter what. Me doing whatever I have to do to make sure that you have what you need.
Right.
You know, the devotion to uprising the culture.
Right.
And the ability just to love one another, which is really the missing key in our community. And I know that the approach by the so-called enemy is divide and conquer, but multiply and love, you know, that conquers all. So that's how I view it.
Yeah. You know, I'm glad you use the word love. Sometimes, particularly as men, we don't use those kind of words. You know what I mean? I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but we're kind of scared to say love as really, it's a verb, right? It's an action word.
That's right.
It's something we need to do, but sometimes as men, we hold up on that word. I'm going to come back to you, Hellring. I want to talk a little bit about this concept of the next right noble thing to do. And so we'll talk a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about transformation, then I'm going to come back to you.
Sure.
So this whole concept of transformation, I said, you know, we ask ourselves the question, what is the next right noble thing to do? Which means if we're doing that, asking ourselves that question, then chances are we're going to come up with a higher level response, maybe a more loving response. And, you know, the truth is, when we ask ourselves that question, we often know what it is that we need to do. We all know about things like forgiving and compassion. We know about loving. We know about being patient and understanding. We know about the need to serve others. We know that even in the most stressful situations, we need to find a space and a place for gratitude. We know that as human beings that are trying to live a holy life, if you will, we know to look for the good qualities in others. Instead of focusing on the bad, we know to try not to ascribe motives to people's behavior, often assuming the worst about them. Or that assuming that they said something and the reason they said it was because they're being mean-spirited. Again, the kinds of assumptions. We know not to do that. We know to love our enemies. All these are healthy responses. They're transformative responses, and we've heard about that. You know, he talked about the term love. Dr. King gave a beautiful talk when he talked about loving our enemies. And he said, when we look beneath the surface, beneath the impulsive evil deed, we see within our neighbor, a measure of goodness, and know that the viciousness and evilness of his acts are not quite representative of all that he is. Dr. King went on to say, then we love our enemies by realizing that they are not totally bad and that they are not beyond the reach of redemptive love. So we know all this. We've heard these things, maybe not as eloquently as Dr. King said them, but oftentimes in the situation, in the stressful moment, in the moment of challenge, we choose anger, or we choose a judgmental response, or we assume the worst about why my boss did this, or my neighbor, or my acquaintance. And if it's related to race, if they say something or do something and we get triggered, we think, oh, that's because they're racist. They must have said that because they're racist. And we react with suspicion and fear and leeriness. And even with our spouses, I'm married, I've been married for a long time, even with our spouses, they may ask us a question, and sometimes we get testy with them, like they're questioning our competence. Like, what, do you think I'm stupid? Right? Because we got that ego thing going on. We fail to give the benefit of doubt to others and then question why we don't get it ourselves sometimes. So we know all the stuff. We know the right stuff to do. It's in our head, but yet we still respond from the ways that I said. And, you know, I was reading, before I came, I was reading something Dr. King said. He quoted a Latin poet. This Latin poet said, I see and approve the better things, but follow the worse. And then he quoted the Apostle Paul, who said, the good that I would, I do not. But the evil which I would not, that I do. Okay, so let me read that again. The good that I would, I do not. But the evil which I would not, that I do. You know, Plato said something about this kind of war we have with each other between choosing that good response and that more negative response. He said human personality is like a charioteer having two headstrong horses, each wanting to go in a different direction. So I can relate to that. But I want to talk about two reasons, or just a couple reasons, why I think it's challenging for us to choose that high ground response. One we mentioned, one is about the fact that we remember things in that kind of part of our memory, that when something new comes up, that old memory gets triggered and it kicks in like it was happening that first time. Right. So we've covered that. But there's another couple reasons, and I think, I hope our listeners will think deeply about this. I think we see responding with love. I think we see responding with compassion or forgiveness. I think we see that in a sense, particularly as black men. I think we see that as weakness. I think we see that as kind of a weak response. Somehow we feel we need to respond with something more aggressive, more forceful, so we can maintain our manhood. And certainly we can't allow ourselves to be diminished in our eyes, because I think appearing weak diminishes us in a society where we already feel diminished. But can we just for a minute reflect, I'm asking everybody who's listening to just reflect on what true strength is, what is true power. And I'll ask you the question. I'm not really asking you this, Hellring, but just kind of rhetorically asking the question, was Martin Luther King weak? Was he ineffectual or superfluous by responding with his higher angels? Was Gandhi weak? Was he ineffectual or superfluous by responding with his higher angels? Was Mandela weak or ineffectual or superfluous by responding with their higher angels? And just reflecting and thinking, are they worthy role models of manhood, perhaps? Just reflecting on that. Are those really weak, impotent responses? My view is no. But the last thing I want to say about why I think we don't respond sometimes from those higher ground self is I think we have not made an intentional decision of who we want to be on this planet. How we want to walk on this planet, how we want to represent what a black man is or a black woman is. I don't think we've made an intentional decision, again, of how we really want to walk on this planet. I'm going to give you an example, Hellring, of kind of a transformational experience that I had, and I think we talked about this in a recent conversation. You know, I spent a lot of my life mad at white folks, frustrated or angry with white folks. My personal racial experiences growing up in an all-white neighborhood for at least the first 15 years of our lives. We were the only black family, so you can imagine the kinds of things we went through. And then you couple that with all the things that I've witnessed that have happened to black people because of the color of their skin and what we've seen on TV and all the injustices perpetuated that we see day in and day out. And then we see how the internalized oppression that's taken place in our communities has caused us to turn on each other and then, in a sense, butcher each other. And a lot of that comes out of a racist consciousness, a racist system. And then professionally, I've worked in the area of racial justice and healing for almost 30 years, so I've seen a lot of that, the challenges. So I found myself over time increasingly being emotionally reactionary to white people in the system. And I was drained by it. But I had a turning point, and this is the key that I had a turning point where I had to make what I had an awakening, and I had to make what I consider a transformative decision. You know, Hellring, sometimes you'll hear something on the radio or you'll read something that just hits you at the right time. Mm-hmm. You know, you've heard stuff like that before, but for some reason it hits you at the right time. Mm-hmm. Now, I consider myself a religious, spiritual person. I'm a member of the Baha'i faith. I've tried to live that faith as best I can. But sometimes you need to hear things in a different way. So I was listening to the radio one day. I think we talked about this. A guy came on the radio. He was talking about something similar. He said, God treats you the way God does because of who God is, not because of who you are. And I tell you, brother, that hit me like a lightning bolt. God treats you the way God does because of who God is, not because of who you are. Now, I know I'm not God, and I know some people don't even believe in God, but I got the point. I realized almost instantaneously that adopting that posture would mean emotional, mental, psychological, and spiritual freedom. I saw an end, if I was able to adopt that posture, to my reactionary responses, which meant an end to being controlled by the way white folks behaved or didn't behave toward me or toward other black folks. I realized that true freedom would be in my ability to treat white folks based on what I decided about how I want to walk on this earth, about how I want to define my humanity, not based on what they do or don't do. So I made really, around that time, I remember that being a shift in my consciousness, and I made, quote, an intentional decision. I said, I'm going to define myself as a noble being. And I meant it very deeply, which meant I'm going to be loving, I'm going to be compassionate, I'm going to be giving, I'm going to be non-judgmental. And I will determine how I treat white folks and others based on that definition of who I decide I am. And what they do with that, how they respond to that, that's on them, right? Well, that doesn't mean I won't fight for justice or I'll just bow the knee. That means the manner in which I choose to respond to the best of my ability will be based on how I've defined myself, not based on what they or anyone else does or doesn't do. For me, El-Ring, that is spirituality, that is responding from my higher angels, and that is health. Okay, so that's I wanted to say that because that to me is about transformation. And so, Brother El-Ring, in my workshops and talks, I work with brothers and sisters to develop a system and discipline for responding in the ways that I described. And I think if we can have the awareness of how our brain produces those triggering responses, if we can be aware of that, if we can redefine ourselves in terms of what being weak or strong means, and if we can choose nobility as our position of honor and strength, and how we choose to walk in the world, I think we'll reduce our stress. I think we'll deal more effectively with racism and transform ourselves and our communities. So I wanted to say that. And, you know, I wanted to give you a formal introduction, and I realized I'm going to have to pull your bio out of the bag here because I left it in the bio. But let me introduce you informally, and on the break I'm going to pull your bio out and give you the formal introduction. This is Brother El-Ring Ra'unk. And he is a Qigong healer. He is a Qigong instructor. He's a Qigong therapist, if you will. He's a Qigong teacher. And I am so happy and pleased to have him here. You know, when I say a teacher, he is my teacher, among other people. So welcome, and I'll give you the formal introduction in a few minutes. But first, if you could just tell us maybe just a little bit about yourself. Are you a D.C. native? Are you a Maryland native? And a little bit about your background.
Okay. I consider myself an earth native, native of this earth.
Okay.
Where I decided to descend or ascend once again was in Providence, Rhode Island. And I was there for a couple of years, and then my parents moved to upstate New York, Rochester area.
A New Yorker.
Yeah, a small little town called Brockport. What's up, Bport? And so from there, I was there until about age 28, and then I followed my passion down to D.C. and the D.C. area. I settled in Maryland, where I currently reside.
Okay. And
I'm happy to call it home. It's been like home vibes now, you know. Before I used to be like, hey, don't call me a Marylander, but now it's I accept those words now.
Well, we accept you even though you're in Maryland, not a true D.C. man. Just kidding. So listen, I want to really give you the formal introduction, say a few words about you. El-Ring Ra'unk is a 19th generation initiate of the Wudang Dragon Gate sect of Taoism. He's been a practitioner of Qigong and martial arts for over 16 years. He's dedicated his life to exploring and pursuing the cultivation techniques that heal and enhance the functioning of our body, mind, and spirit. His orientation is as a member of the Osir Auset Society, and that's a Pan-African spiritual organization established to synergize the best of spiritual traditions from the past and transform that wisdom into a practical manner for contemporary man. And I think this is important, affirming the position that good health is our birthright. Hellring Ra'ank has set out to assist others in learning how to enhance the mind and body connection. So before I get into the actual Qigong, I think some folks may be interested in the Wudang Dragon's Gate sect of Taoism. And maybe you could explain a little bit about that, maybe their philosophy.
Sure. So I was initiated in 2014 by my current master in the martial arts, internal arts, Master Liu Xiaoling. He's just a beast when it comes to the energy field. He's about 64, and in class, he seems like he's the youngest man, even though he's the oldest. The way he moves, the way he talks, the way he acts, the way he jokes, he's like a young man. And you see that this is the effect 50 some odd years of Qigong training has brought him, you know. So we joke in class, like, and sometimes he has us do some training, some stretching in the beginning, right? And he has us trying to stick, you know, we're stretching, and he can touch. He always prides on the point when he asks us to touch our forehead to our feet.
Forehead to your feet.
Yeah, and nobody can do it but him.
Oh, geez.
You know, so I'm just saying, it's a different world out there.
Yeah, it's a different world out there for those who practiced, right?
So he's a bona fide master, and he's been teaching me many things in the martial arts realm as well as the Qigong realm. It's my first time I've had like a true master who I can take these things from on a daily basis. I do want to say though, so that's the Wudang side of things, but I would also add that I said the highest master I've ever met is a man named Ra'u Nefer Amen, who is also, you read in my bio, I'm a member of the Oser Oset Society. And Dr. Ra'u Nefer Amen for sure is the highest being that I've met as far as understanding energy, how to cultivate it, and how to use it for, you know, your health and your success. There's nobody that is at the pinnacle that he's at. So I'd be remiss if I didn't give him his due. Yeah.
So tell me about that society. Pronounce it again. It's
Oser Oset Society.
Oser Oset Society.
Yeah, they're based in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
The leader is a man named Ra'u Nefer Amen. He came to America and I believe in the late 70s established Oser Oset Society, and it's gone from its humble beginnings to now it's an international phenomenon. They have chapters in several states domestically, and even chapters internationally in London and UK and Bermuda. I think there's even a branch recently established in South Africa. So they're moving. And they've given me a lot of foundation in terms of understanding spirituality from the point of view where it's been well hidden or occulted from many people. And so, you know, if you can get the chance to kind of, you know, step behind the veil and take a look at what your people road to success, that is, in a nutshell, that's what Oser Oset's all about. Yeah. So
beautiful. I see Dr. Baruch here. Shout out to Dr. Baruch. You want to come in shy? How you doing, Dr. Baruch?
Well,
okay. All right. I just got 2 of your meals here.
That's great.
Okay, back to my brother, Hellring Ra'ank. I wanted to ask you about Qigong. You know, this is something that's probably new to a lot of people. I think people have heard of Tai Chi. Well, I remember Qigong was new to me. And so maybe you can connect the dots for us on, you know, what your definition of Qigong is, how it's related to Tai Chi, or if it's related, and just kind of explain to us.
Sure, I'd love to. So anyone who knows me knows that Qigong is like a core passion of mine. I definitely see it as a vehicle that helps to alleviate a lot of ills that you mentioned earlier to in you know, the beginning of the radio show with regards to all the things that society is bringing upon us and how we react to it, you know, the stress reactions. Qigong is a way definitely to help people protect themselves and protect their energy from being disturbed. It's because it's that disturbed energy that leads to negative emotions. You know, basically the way we define negative emotions, at least how we're taught in Osira said, is anything other than love and anything other than peace and anything other than joy. Right? Anything other than that's uncivilized, for real. Because those other energy states, such as anger or worry or fear, sadness, all those things drain your energy. And I dare say, if you walked into a room of 100 people and you said, who would like to have their energy drained today, you wouldn't have that many hands pop up, So that's the thing, that you want to learn how to prevent the drain from occurring and, in fact, build, because this world, there's just energy is power. And if you know how to manipulate and harness your power, you have a better chance of surviving. And this game is about survival, and survival of the fittest doesn't mean what Darwin had in mind. It's more so like the fittest are those who are able to connect the energy to a divine source and keep that connection going, and then have that divine source in turn use your energy to influence the world today for the better. To that aim, Qigong is here to help people who have disturbances in their energy bodies, disturbances in their health, to regather this energy in a positive manner, flip it in a way that you can now control your health, be empowered to be healthy, and take control over your life.
It's very powerful. You use the term disturbed energy. I think that's a very powerful thing to think about. I guess if we're walking around and we're angry and we're frustrated and we're impatient, if we just translate that and I'm walking around with disturbed energy, it might help us shift that just a little bit. So how did you initially come to this? How did you initially come to Qigong? What attracted you to it? And as importantly, and every guest I ask this, because this is about transform ourselves, transform our communities. How it's helped you to transform. I mean, you could probably talk all day about how it's helped you to transform, but maybe in a nutshell. So, again, the question: how you first became involved, and how it attracted you to it, and then the transformational effect on you.
Sure. I'm just recognizing now, I didn't even fully answer your question as far as what is Qigong. For those who don't know, it's a system of. It's a lifestyle, for one. Within this lifestyle, there's a series of exercises similar to yoga that can be performed through breath. You can use your breath, your posture, and your intention to affect change in your energy system. And so, if you see Tai Chi is a form of Qigong.
I apologize, Brother Qigong. Brother Qigong, I called you.
Oh, it's okay.
My poor phone.
Oh yeah, you got that Rocky theme.
Yeah, and I didn't know I had it turned on.
No problem.
I apologize, brother.
Rocky was a Qigong master too in his own right.
Yeah, in his own right.
So yeah, Qigong is basically a series of it's a lifestyle. So it's way you influence energy. The way I'm teaching in the class mainly is influencing energy through posture.
Okay.
So we put people in specific postures that have scientifically proven effects on aspects of the body, whether that's your internal organs, right, your immune system, the empowering of the brain to think better, empowering of the libido, sexual function. All these things are all possible, and these are things that the society and stress is definitely attacking.
Right.
And what I love the most about Qigong is that it comes from you.
Right.
This is given by birth. You don't need to like this is a drink. I have some vitamins and minerals inside, but it's coming outside of me. Right. This is a pomegranate. I'm giving it to you. This is my gift to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. First one I've seen of the year. So
okay, I appreciate that, brother.
And you're welcome. And so but the gifts of breath, right? The gifts of intention and the gift of your body, that's given by birth. That's given by nature. And so Qigong to me is the supreme way to heal yourself, because all the equipment has been given. And you just have to know how to go in there and work it. You have a lot of energy in this body suppressed. So Qigong is the science of learning how to rescue it. from the depths and bring it to the foreground where it's needed, because the battle's hot out here.
Right.
And so you need a tool to get to that.
So break the word up for me, chi and then gong.
Okay, so chi is basically, for the long of it, it's energy.
Okay.
Right? It's energy. I like to look at it from the perspective of the ancients. I try to bring everything back to the origin. So when I was looking at and doing some studying, we equate chi to Ra. Ra is misnomered in the realm of Egyptology as the sun god.
Okay.
It's a misnomer because really the Ra was a metaphor for the sun within you. It's just our vitality. And it's the source of everything that makes everything function, from me blinking my eyes to the blood circulating in my body, to me, breathing without even having to breathe, to producing a child and having that whole process unfold behind this intelligence that's directing it. All of that is a function of chi. And so really, to me, it's like chi is like this. It's this composition of this beautiful music, and the consciousness within us, the will, is this orchestrator doing a work better than Mozart ever could. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so, so that's chi, and then gong is just anything that takes a long time to master.
Okay.
So it's something that we're studying. So qigong is this deep, protracted study of the energy system and its mastery. Yeah.
So if I was just like a guy off the street, right, and I came and I said, I just said to you, what's this going to do for me? What would your guy off the street answer be?
Well, actually, I get the guy off the street answer quite a bit, so this is not too uncommon. I would say, well, first of all, just what about your life that you don't like right now? What do you see? What are you seeing that you've repeatedly wanted to try, you've thought about trying, maybe you've got therapy, you've done all sorts of things, and it's intractable, it's not moving. Okay, so whatever that is, maybe someone has low back pain that's just been nagging them for years. They were an athlete, they used to be the big man on campus, and all of a sudden they can barely move from stiffness in the back. They tried the Western medical approach, they tried all the drugs, they tried this, they tried massage. Nothing seemed to help. Well, we know in Qigong that it's a good chance that one of two systems are damaged. One is usually anything lower back pain related. That's going to be the domain of the kidney energy system, right? We have these internal organs within us, and they have these modalities of qi that they represent. And the kidneys represent of many things like bones, right? Your will. If you tend to be fearful, the brain, the marrow, the lower back, right? So if someone has lower back pain, perhaps it's because the energy level in their body is deficient. And so the body's lower back pain is a manifestation. It's like body talk. It's the dialogue of the body telling you, hey, dummy, get me some help. I need some help. Give me some herbs. I need the right foods. Right. Use these exercises, and all these things in coordination is a holistic approach to rebuilding one's body. And so once you get that lower back pain in order, you find a whole lot of other things start to get in line. They may be whatever tends to make them fearful in life, that impact that stress has. With the lower back pain gone, now they can move through that situation without fear. So that's just one manifestation of.
Well, that would be helpful in itself.
Yeah.
We need to take a break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Helring Ra'ank, Qigong healer, instructor, teacher, therapist. Welcome back, Hellring. I want to, we've got a short time left, and there's so much I want to cover because I think this is so critical for the health and transformation of the African American community. But, you know, you've been around, you've been doing this for 16 years, and you've been engaged with the African American community, and I know one of your classes is working with African American males, the one I'm in. But you've seen the community, and what issues, health issues, do you see that in the African American community that are really pressing that you think Qigong could really help if people would engage with it?
Well, you're right. There are so many things that are disturbing our energy, that are leading to various maladies in health. I mean, you name it, the gambit of, say, like asthma, insomnia, you know, right? High blood pressure, all these cardiovascular diseases, joint pains, you know, emotional pains, not knowing how to, you know, overcome being depressed, or chronic anger, you know, all these tensions, all these things can be addressed by Qigong. Let me give an example. Like, say if you deal with someone with chronic anger, right? Anger that just, they're frustrated about everything. They wake up and they're mad at, it's raining.
Right.
You know, who ate my last McDonald's?
Right.
You know, a
like
hamburger.
They should be eating that anyway, right?
Yeah, hopefully they're not, you know, but even if they are, we still got love for you.
Right.
You know, the boss is on your nerves. You know, the children are doing something. The bills aren't being paid, and all these things, and the stress just festers.
Right.
And there's an organ the Chinese sages have, and the Chinese medical practitioners, they've wedded emotions to the organs, right? So if someone who, and this for the audience, anyone that you know who is very much suffering from chronic anger, underlying anger, you can best believe that your liver energy is being drained. And the liver is responsible for a great many things. One thing is it gives the power to envision a better life for yourself. So you might know some people who, like, when you sit down and ask them, hey, what do you want to do with your life? And they can't give you a response. You know, a good, healthy liver will be able to hear that question and visualize internally a picture of what it is I want to do. And not only that, it will hand it off to so there's a liver yin and a liver yang side. The yin is like yin and yang. It's like an internal energy yin, external energy yang, just for the basis, right? So the liver yin will help you to internalize what it is I want to do with my life, and then to pass it over to the liver yang energy. And the liver yang is like that go-getter. It just makes things happen. It powers through any obstruction in this way in order to reach its goal. It's very goal-oriented, you see. So, but that function, like natural God-given function, may not occur as well as it ought to if one decides to hold on. The choice word is decides. It's a will choice to decide to hold on to those things that are keeping one in a state of tension, of anger. So to repair that, you could come to class, you get herbs, you can get foods. This color green of this microphone is the color of the liver, so you could visualize that color. That's color therapy, and that liver would now start to respond in a better way, in a more healthy way. And again, those things, those agents of stress, they'll no longer have power over you once you start to really do work on repairing your liver. So not only that, you remove the agents of stress, now your health is even higher. You know, because you know the liver is a major aspect of your detoxing. Major aspect, it has a major role it plays with your detoxing of your blood and from pathogens and things of that nature. So, you know, these are just some of the things that I would love to see our people get back into. If you really want to get into your health, why not learn what it is your body has to aid you in that process? And, you know, if it's not Qigong, it could be yoga, it could be martial arts, whatever, gardening, right? Whatever it is, but you got to do something with your body, because there's a lot of movement. The lymphatic system is here, all over where your joints are. And the only way you really can get lymph fluid, which is the true immune system, activated is through movement.
Right.
So if you notice, my moniker is movement is medicine.
Right.
And that's a literal statement.
Well, you know, I shout out to Kimberly Robinson. I know massage therapy helps that lymphatic fluid move too. But you know, this qigong is so comprehensive. I mean, it deals with healing, it deals with spirituality, it deals with meditation, it deals with martial arts. It's like a holistic approach.
Indeed.
And you know, so I think as our listeners, particularly in the African American community, are thinking about this, and really, the classes are a joy. Besides everything else, and what's nice about it, you know, we like immediate gratification sometimes. You feel something positive right away.
Yeah.
You know, there's a long-term effect, but you feel something positive from an hour class.
Right.
I can say that, proof positive, right?
Yes.
You know, I think you also talked about in your bio, and I didn't read it. You mentioned different methods of teaching qigong, and that fascinated me because in our last class you mentioned 8 pieces of brocade. Mm-hmm. But in your bio, you mentioned 5 animal frolics. You mentioned muscle tendon changing form, Wudang, Qigong, Heaven and Earth. And we don't have time to go over all of those, but obviously there's some distinction. And can you just talk about a few of those forms?
Sure, definitely. So in the Qigong world, right, there's a lot of different ways Qigong can be executed. There's different forms of Qigong, like martial Qigong, right? You have medical Qigong. You have spiritual Qigong, scholarly Qigong, and all these type of forms. What I generally gravitate to are medical Qigongs, although I know some martial Qigongs, like say the Yi Jing Jing or the muscle tendon changing classic is a form which is definitely to make your body more, to get it stronger, to withstand illness, withstand disease. Think about it that the people who created or the people who are excelling in these forms now, like say if you take like Taoist priests or Buddhist monks, right, who are hiding high up in the mountaintop somewhere, and they don't have the benefits of things like Obamacare,
right?
You know, they don't have, you know, those type of comforts. They have to make sure if they get sick, it's on them.
Right.
And so they've discovered ways through their meditation, through their dedicated to this life science, they found ways to enhance their health through these movements. You know, so the Yi Jing Jing is one that definitely gives you a martial edge. It makes your body very strong. It makes it very hard to, you know, wither from attack, you know. And so if you sometimes type in YouTube, you can see monks doing these incredible feats with their body, getting stabbed with sharp things.
Right.
Walking on, and they're okay because they've trained their body, they trained their energy to do so. Myself, I focus more on the medical Qigong side. So like you mentioned the 8-piece brocade, that was definitely a medical Qigong that was utilized in the battlefield. So, you know, soldiers, one major thing that happens when you're fighting is you can get hurt. And they needed a method to fix these people up really quickly, you know, battlefield medicine. And they found that 8-piece brocade was a really effective way to get someone back up and going again. So that's why I incorporate that in the classes sometimes. 5-piece, the 5 animal frolics, again, was created by, the legend goes it was created by another Taoist priest who was very skilled with medicine. He was going around from town to towns, and he saw that people had these various diseases, and he created this form to help heal the internal organs. So the 5 elements are dealing with, the 5 animals, frolics, are dealing with the 5 internal organs in the body, which are responsible for the harmonious flow of qi within the body. You know, and Wudang Qigong, you said, Wudang Qigong is Qigong that they bring, that is given to people who are kind of new to the Qigong realm and landscape. And, you know, you have all sorts of things, all sorts of imbalances in your energy system. And so it works on these things we call meridians or channels, where the qi, the energy, the life energy flows through the body. And I liken it to like traffic. So like if you go from Maryland to DC, say at like noon, the traffic's gonna be pretty smooth, good flow.
Right.
Might be bumping your music, kicking back, you know, you're feeling good. But if you catch it in rush hour, it's gonna be another story, perhaps, right? You're gonna be horns blaring and people with these looks on their face, like it's not as comfortable. And the same thing goes on in our body. When the flow of energy gets jammed, it's like a traffic jam,
Yeah.
you know, and things aren't moving right, and energy is not being received where it needs to be received, and that deficiency or that excess is going to be felt as a stress, and it's going to be communicated emotionally. So when you learn how to clear these channels, clear this traffic, and allow the smooth circulation and flow of chi back again, you're going to feel smooth. You're going to be in the flow. You're going to feel at one. You're going to feel good. You're going to be able to say that four-letter word that we talked about earlier, which is love. You're going to feel that.
You know, when you talked about the liver, the way you described it is not a way I've ever heard the liver described. You said, like, if it was, in the sense you said, if it was healthy and the energy was flowing the way it should, it would help give you an image of what you could be. And now most people don't think about the liver having a function that impacts the spirit and the mind, as well as just the body. You know? And I think that we know there's a mind, body, spirit connection, but I don't know that we connect it as detailed as you connected it there. And I think probably most people, when they heard that, they would have thought, your liver creates a picture in your mind. What's he talking about? So, I mean, I get it.
So let me clear that up. Is stretching back into Africa, right, where these concepts were developed. There's always been a connection emotionally, like with the physical and psychical realms of life. So when I say the liver, I'm not speaking from the sense of Western medicine per se. I'm talking of an energy system, an energy family. I don't want to use the word complex. An energy family within the body that functions in a certain manner. So the liver gives rise to the emotion of anger, right? But if it's functioning properly, it's going to give you the ability to relax. It controls the sinews and the ligaments, the tendons, right? When those things are stressed, you're going to feel stressed. But when you're able to relax, you can relax. So when people come to my classes, I often start off with liver exercises because I'm trying to get this relaxation going on. We'll do the liver healing sound, which is shoo. You know, that sound, intoning that over and over again will put you in a state of profound relaxation. And it's in that relaxed state that you can go into a mild trance, if you will, which is like a state in between sleeping and waking, where your mind is very active but relaxed and comfortable. And that's where the images start to appear of what it is I want to do with my life. You take stock and you can see what it is I have and what it is I want to do with what I have. And then you have the energy to move on that vision, you know. And so that's the liver. If you want to look at another organ, we can say the heart. The heart, when it's healthy, represents a state of joyfulness, the ability to be happy, to be warm, right? To be to have that kind of feeling where you can just come up to anybody and just be warm to them, you know. You ever been to meet some people and you say hello? Like I was just at a class in New York. I'm taking an herbal class in New York City, right? Every month. And I was sitting beside somebody, and man, I thought it was an icicle I was sitting beside, you know, when I said hello. But you know, I don't blame her. I just recognize that that's a state of the energy functioning, and I know if there's herbs you could throw at her. I know there's qigong exercises that she could be shown, and I guarantee if she did that faithfully for a month, it'll be a whole different reaction, you know, the next time around. So that's the kind of thing that Qigong has the ability to do. So like some of the functions of the heart energy system would be like one who is very shy, but you maybe have to give a presentation at work, or maybe in the domain of public speaking, where you have to communicate. You know, you have to communicate the intentions and the ideas of who you're representing, and you have to do that in a way to make do that well in a way that makes people respond to you, receptive to you. And the heart energy, a good heart energy, is that which allows that kind of communication to occur. So I guarantee whoever President Obama has for his speaker, you know, who talks to the press, that person's going to have a good heart energy, someone who can engage and connect with the people in a way that doesn't make them feel cold and stiff, you know. So
Powerful. You know, we're running out of time here. We're winding down, but I've got a couple quick. One, I want to make sure you get a chance to share. If somebody wants to participate in your classes, you know, how do they go about doing that?
Okay, very good. So currently I'm teaching in Northeast DC, the Umoja House, which is on 2015 Bunker Hill Road, again, Northeast DC. And those classes are from 7 to 8 p.m. Also
on Thursday nights.
Thursday nights, thank you. Thursdays at 7. And in about 1 week's time, in about 1 week's time, I'm going to open up another class. I'm going to be open to the general public. Anyone can attend at 6224 3rd Street. That's the Senbeb complex.
Okay.
Definitely, I'll give you my website just to keep people more in tune with these developments as they occur. But some of these exercises and herbal ways and healing sounds, all that will be part of your knowledge once you come to these classes and you start to see the healing process happening right before your very eyes. And like you said, you'll feel it. You'll feel something tangible on the first day. I mean, what most people say is that it's the health. They came to get healthy, but they didn't realize the effect it has on their emotional health.
Right.
And that can be felt instantly.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you say, it's all connected. I mean, the emotional health and the physical health. I know for me, and this, we talked earlier, I mean, there's similarities in I think, our goals for sure in terms of just kind of a spiritual consciousness, which helps the emotional energy, then which helps the physical energy,
Right.
et cetera, how you see things. How it's a lot to how you respond emotionally. If you see things a certain way, then your emotions are going to kick in a wholly different way.
Right.
I've got we got a few more minutes. I'd like to just ask you about the herb part of it. Okay, so I understand about the Qigong. I understand about the healing part. I understand the spirituality, the meditation, the movement, the posture, the breathing. Wish we had more time to talk about the sounds because people probably are curious about that. But again, all these things go together in the healing process and the energy movement process as well.
Indeed.
But also you do work with herbs.
Yes, I do. So let me just give a shout out to one of my top herbal teachers, a man named Shechem Tepraim Sa'ah. He's just the Wizard of DC, the true Washington Wizard. As far as herbal medicine is concerned, a lot of babies are out here walking because of this man who doctors, Western medicine physicians told those mothers they will never have children. They went to see him and they have children, So, he's one of my teachers, and a man named Jeffrey Yuen in New York City. He's a Taoist priest. He's also an herbal teacher of mine. And so, and of course, Rao Nefer Men gives us the framework to make all this happen. But basically, in a nutshell, herbs are an integral part of Qigong. That's why I kind of, it's like if you don't have a lot of energy to begin with, trying to get you to move energy can be difficult. It can happen. You're going to feel benefits. But at the highest levels, the highest degrees, you want to be able to feel that chi surging in your body, coursing. It's warm. You can feel it moving in your arms, in your feet, all over your body, up your back. The chi energy is what keeps you going. So, like, if you have deficiencies in life, which most of us do, because from birth or from young age, we were eating the wrong things, drinking the wrong things, smoking the wrong things, and doing other wrong things that I won't mention on this family-friendly show. But oftentimes we've depleted our energy, and it needs to be replenished. And to me, the best pharmacy on earth is God's pharmacy, which are the herbs. So you take the medicine from the herbs, and there's a correlation. What I love about Qigong, it's all tied into Chinese medicine, which to me is the world medicine. So many nations utilize Chinese medicine because it's effective. And so they've painstakingly categorized what organs affect, what herbs affect what organs, you see. So say right now in the Chinese scheme of things, we're in a place where the liver is very much in function, right? So you can throw herbs at the liver to help it boost it, like milk thistle, bupleurum, dandelion roots, things of this nature, and you'll get the liver to actually activate its function, enhance its function. And when it's more enhanced, you can optimize it through the movements. And now you have this beautiful synergy of liver energy surging through you. So that's just a blip of what the possibilities are in Qigong. So in my classes, I definitely like to incorporate herbs that you've seen and partake in some of those formulas. Maybe you can tell the people how you felt.
I mean, I told you the other day, and we have to wrap up here. I told you the other day, I'd been really exhausted. I couldn't seem to get energy, and I said, it's like my skepticism kicked in. I said, I don't know if this is my imagination, but I took this once, I had the best day that I had in weeks, and that was the only thing I did different. So that's all I can say. That was the only thing I did different that day. So we've got to wrap up. It's a couple minutes to 7. Hellring Ra'ank,
Yes,
beautiful, powerful brother. I mean, I hope you'll take advantage of this. I wish there was another way to contact you. But remember, Thursday night, this is for men. That's a men's class, 2015 Bunker Hill Road, Northeast. And then the second class.
It's going to be in about a week, 6224 3rd Street, Northwest, D.C. And that's going to be, can I give my website out real quick?
Yeah, real quick.
It's villagechigong.com, villagechigong.com. You can email me. It's not fully set up yet, but you can email me there, and I can correspond with you further.
Well, thank you again, and I want to...
Let me spell Qigong for them.
Yeah, oh, yes, of course.
So village, right? Village is village, and then QIGONG.com. Qigong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, I actually spelled it wrong in an email I sent out. Okay, so thank you very much, Hellring, again, and just I hope people to take advantage of what you have to offer because it's very profound. So next week we have Kweku Awoso. He's a Ghanaian drummer and youth project coordinator. I want to say, remember this week, see the heaven in every black face, transform yourselves, transform your communities, and ask yourself the question in that moment of stress, what is the next right, noble thing to do? Thank you very much.
Right on.